You are listening to the podcast To Be Single or Not to Be by Shanna Montana, a podcast where we talk about the single life, dating, and relationships so you can make a decision at the end of each episode and decide to be single or not to be. That is the final question.
This is the To Be Single or Not to Be podcast, and we're doing what? Running it back.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the To Be Single or Not to Be podcast. And we are back today with another episode of the Running It Back series. And today's topic is one that we talked about in August of 2019, and it was titled Miss Independent, Is She Doing Too Much? And it is wild and unhinged times. That is 2019 we were talking about it, and it was 2019 then we were talking about it. In 2023 we are still talking about it because it seems to still be a point of contingency for men, if we're being honest, where they feel like we wear these hats where we want to be so independent, we want to wear the pants, we want to be a nigga, and we don't. We really don't. Like, ultimately, if I could have someone to come in and take care of me, let me live my softest life, not pay any of these bills, dude, who wouldn't want to do that? So I don't really understand the notion behind men feeling like some women want to be the man. Now, mind you, there's an exception to every rule, and there may be somebody out there that wants to be a nigga, but it's not me. Wants to be a man, but it's not me. So I'll tell you that. And going into the conversation that we talked about in 2019, the first thing that was the focus was just really understanding and demonstrating the difference between interdependence and independence. And what we really discussed in Think Present Day that I feel like I don't hear enough talk about, but it's truly what we want to have in relationships, is interdependence, where we both bring something of value to the table. We both have something to offer. We both have a mutual dependence on one another in a beneficial way for both parties. And of course, that's going to look different for both sides of the table, because we know in most cases, say if a man is the one bringing more of the financial situation, not always, but sometimes a man is bringing the financial situation, but the woman may be the main caretaker of the children. The woman may be the one to curate the home. The woman may be the one who, say, runs the business that you may have. There are a lot of variables that can go into a relationship, but ultimately, interdependence is the goal, not independence, not an independent woman, because independent people most times are more focused on themselves and on influencing others. So I can see why people may get it confused and think that, you know, a woman that takes care of herself or has the ability to take care of herself is a lot when they get in a relationship, if they aren't able to release that in a sense and still want to have control in that way when it's not necessary. And it's much easier, I realize, when you are in a relationship with someone who allows you to be able to take that independent hat off and put on that interdependent one, and allows you to be in a situation where they are going to take the lead. They are not going to lead you astray, and they are going to, you know, create a space that works out for everyone. And that was another thing that one of my guests talked about on the show that was married, was how she really struggled in the beginning to let go of that independent woman hat. And it was primarily because, you know, she grew up in a single parent home. She was the oldest of her siblings. She had taken care of herself while she was in college, and when she graduated, you know, she had just done a lot of things by herself. So when it came time for her to get with her husband and go through that process, she said it was something that he just created a safe enough space for her to realize, like, I got it. You can follow my lead. You can take that hat off. You don't have to work as hard. You don't have to do as much. Like, I'm going to meet you halfway or beyond halfway in a lot of things if you let me. And I think sometimes that's what happens, is that, you know, we get in these situations of these newer relationships where someone may be trying to take care of us, but we really struggle with it at times if we don't make a conscious and very, like, wildly intentional decision to let go of the past behaviors that we had going on, when it's really just what's been ingrained in us, what's been rooted in us. You know, to be in a space now where I say, if I am the person now, like, I'm my 100% caretaker. I take care of everything in here. So if somebody comes along and is now saying, like, I'm going to take care of everything in here, including you, and that happens, say, tomorrow, that may be a little bit of an adjustment. Like anything, I think anytime you go through anything in a relationship, there is going to be an adjustment period. And I think that everybody has to acknowledge that and understand that it does not happen overnight. Now, it shouldn't take years for you to adjust to a person coming in and wanting to be the man that you've prayed and asked for, wanting to be a man that wants to be the leader, a man that's showing you he's the leader, a man that is not leading you astray, a man that is providing and giving more than financially. We're talking mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, occupationally. We're talking across the board. This man is doing what he is supposed to do, what you've asked him to do. And if you are still fighting against that, then you absolutely have some work to do. But in that process, we have to understand that it may be a little in the beginning. Hopefully not a lot of but it may be a little bit of pushback in the beginning just because you're getting used to things. Like I know in my experience, the 0.5 times that I dealt with a man that might have been able to lead me somewhere, I had run into just different situations where I was used to stepping up to the plate. It might have been something as simple as like, I don't know, at a restaurant, if something needed to be handled, like me speaking to the manager instead of him, or if we're out and something needed to be taken care of, me handling instead of him, when that's a situation where I have to be able, where that person was able to say, hey, Shayna, I got it. And it's like, okay, I'm just so used to having to do the shit myself. Like I told you, that's why my damn Christmas tree still downstairs in the box. I put it in the box, but for me to take it all the way up the stairs, up some more stairs to get it to the attic, I'm just going to pray that the Lord sends a man over here before Christmas this year, before Thanksgiving, so the tree ain't down there all damn year. And it could, what we got? July, August, September, October. We got like 5 months. No, wait. July, August, September, October, November. Because I put my tree up after Thanksgiving. Five months, y'all. 5 months. We go. Hopefully. I'm going to let y'all know if that tree make it up these stairs. Okay. All right. So... But the next thing is that we talked about was in regards to independent women, is that many times people tend to immediately think about just the financial piece. And that's kind of, like weird to me, because relationships are like so much more than that. So it's weird. And, is it that, do you all think is that men are like threatened, say, by a woman who can financially take care of themselves, or a woman that may make more money than he does, a woman that, just is in a more financially secure situation? I'm asking, I'm not saying, like, do you all think that's what it is? But I think that ultimately we do get that issue about, I feel like the negative side of being an independent woman comes in when it's about us trying to like run the show and control the show, or when it comes down to the finances. And the finance piece was weird to me, because it's like, if a man comes along and I am taking care of business, then that should almost be like a cue. Like, if she could take care of business this well on her own, I know that once I bring her into the fold of our life together, it will only enhance and elevate what we have going on. Maybe she can teach me some things in that area, being that allegedly I work for a financial institution, I may be able to teach you a few things. So I think that you have to be able to look at, if you're a person that feels like a woman is too independent, it really taps into why. And maybe for women, that's for us to find out. If we run into men that feel like we are wearing that Miss Independent hat and it's so strong and so wrong, to figure out why. Because I'm okay with the part that we talked about. We're trying to control the situation. If we're being we're being like, this is just who I am. Sometimes we can just, this is just who I am ourselves out of a great relationship, because you can't, I always talk about being authentically who you are and being authentically free, but sometimes you have to recognize if your authenticity is toxic, then you need to recognize that I need to pull back from that, and recognize what areas do I need to pull back from that, and how do I need to show up in relationships still as myself, but in a space that's welcoming to everyone. Because nobody's saying to go and you turn into a transformer like many women tend to do. I've definitely been guilty of that. It's not about becoming somebody that you're not. It's not about turning into a whole different individual and thing that's now like this puppet. But it is about uncovering, how can I show up in this space in a relationship, despite, when I was independently doing things myself, and now I have an opportunity to get in a relationship. How can I show up as my best self? Even if that means, as my most peaceful self, it's my most loving self, it's my most, want to mutually agree self, my most understanding self. There are so many layers to that. So we just have to be mindful that if it comes down to the independent woman piece being a thing, that we take a moment, take a beat, and really just dive into that conversation with said person to want to cover, like, what is that thing that really may be causing this issue? Because it may not be a real thing after all. We talked about it then, talking about it now. A lot of people had a lot to say about it, but I think it's I'm talking this out with you guys. Like, what is the real issue with a woman, feeling like we're too independent? And I know we hear a lot about that in the media. We've heard a lot with some controversial things that have been out there that I ain't about to dive into right now, but just about women wanting to wear the pants. And if we're wanting to wear the pants in a relationship, like, why is that? Is that because, what we were taught, what we saw in homes, how we grew up, what we've had exposure to, not having a father around, so we felt like we, and not having a father, and our moms had to step in both roles, so they kind of taught us, how to wear the pants in a relationship, and we got to balance that out. Like, figuring out what it really is, because social media will give you and just media period will give you a lot of different ideas around what it is, but it's up to you to really uncover. If a person is telling you that there is this level of independence that is, and not interdependence, that's causing a problem in the situation, really just uncovering what that truly is. And then I think that when it comes down to independence as well, and the viewpoint that people have on it, I think we have to just make sure, I know me personally, I have to make sure that if a person is coming into my life, that, and the same if I'm coming into their life, we are going to add to one another's lives. We are not going to subtract from it. And I think that that comes up in a space of, like, if I'm not doing the work I need to do, and in regards to getting to know you and finding out, what you're all about, and I allow you to come into my space where I do have to wear this super independent woman hat, where I am doing things that you should be doing, I have to evaluate, is this the relationship that I need to be in? So that's another aspect we have to think about. If you're with somebody and they feel like you doing too much, Miss Independent, she doing too much, why am I doing too much? Like, what am I doing? Is it a space where I'm just doing a whole lot and don't even give you a chance to do nothing? Or do I ask you to do something or expect something, and a period of time goes by and you just still don't do it, so I eventually have to? And this is just a very small thing, but I asked you to take out the trash, 3 days go by, the trash is coming Friday morning, the trash is tall as me, it still hasn't gone out, and I did it, and now that's a problem. Or if there's something in the household that needs to be taken care of and you're not doing it, now that's a problem. If something going on with the car, you won't look at it, I go take it to a shop to get fixed. I'm a resolution based person. Like, me personally, people say me personally, of course me personally. Personally, if there are things that need to be taken care of, I'm not like a person that's going to wait a long time to get something handled. Sometimes we postpone things for a lot of different reasons. But if I know something, if I know I need an oil change, I'm going to get that oil change. If I know the trash needs to be taken out, I'm going to take the trash out. If I know I need to take care of this class that I'm taking, I'm going to go ahead and take care of it. I'm a person, I keep a list. I have a forever ongoing list of things to do. So I keep a list, I get shit done, and I move with order. And with order and decency is how I move. So I know that whoever I'm with, we have to be the same way. It cannot be like, once upon a time, somebody gave me some terrible fucking advice around, if you ask a man to do something, just ask one time and then just wait. They don't do it. I'm like, just wait how long? Just as long as it takes. So the toilet paper holder is broken in the bathroom. I'm supposed to wait 6 months for you to fix that shit? If I know how to fix it and I ask you, then you come in there one day and fix it, and I say I fixed it, or I got another nigga to come fix it, I'm playing. If I fixed it, it's a problem. Or I paid somebody to come fix it, I could have did it. I'm all about understanding that people don't have to like chop with everything, do what you say immediately right then. But there are scenarios where if things need to get done and you don't do them, and then the woman goes to do them and that causes a problem, then it's like, why are we in this situation? And then that goes into, is this a person I need to be in relationship with? Because it seems that we are not on one accord with how we handle business and how we handle things in this relationship. And that's absolutely, those are things that we have to look at. So I challenge you, make sure you pay attention to stuff like that. If a person is coming along and saying you're too independent, find out what's the real reason why they're saying I'm too independent. Is it because I take care of business because they're bullshitting? Or am I just the person, maybe I am doing too much? But if it's the first thing I said and not the latter, that I need to evaluate, is this where I'm supposed to be? And then the other side of that is, I think I used the one thing that was a problem was when it came to being independent, and this was just in regards to like getting into a new relationship and like friendship and stuff. I used to place too much importance, and I would say I had a lack of balance when it came to getting into a relationship and how I handled like my friendship or my life before the relationship, my life after. So, you know, if I felt like, you know, when you're single, of course you hang with your friends more, you do things more out. But I would kind of want to keep that same temperament and same kind of wavelength of how my life looked with hanging out with friends, doing things on my own, where I wasn't really being as mindful as I would be present day when I have a new partner, to understand that there has to be a balance with how you integrate your relationships. Jay Shetty, who's a podcaster, he talked about on his show that, for example, in order to have a great way to look at relationships and balance is like, you should have time that you, of course, spend together. You have time where you both spend time with his friends, spend time together with your friends. Then you'll spend time apart with your friends, and then you'll spend time together with each of your families. And so, of course, that's not like every single week or every single day. You figure out what that looks like. But it's about finding a balance of that time spent. And I know that used to be an issue for me with relationships, that I did not do well with that balance. And I think it was just being a little bit younger and not understanding. And I'll say a little bit younger and not understanding the importance of time spent. But now as I think about it more, and even when I was thinking about this episode, I think it was also in being 100% honest because of the people that I was with. I wasn't with anyone that had inspired me enough that I wanted to give them more of my time. I was still in a position, and this is something to be said about the situations I was in, where I did, for the most part, not all the time, but in a lot of my relationships, not all, but a lot, I wanted to give my friends still as much time as they got over how much I gave my relationship. And that was because I was in fucked up relationships. So my friends, that value was still placed with my friends over my relationship. And then sometimes it would be the balance was way off kilter, where it was like I get into a relationship or a situationship and my friends wouldn't see my ass at all. So it was like, it's that balance. And I would say that to anybody. Think about the balance. If you're with a person and you don't want to give your time to the person, what's that about? And if you're with a person and you forget about your friends, what's that about? It is all about the balance, because that independent woman hat, you know, definitely can be that can be an issue as well if you are not just balancing what's important in regards to the relationship. If you're still placing your personal things in your personal life and everything is a higher priority than the relationship, that can definitely come across as an issue when it comes down to being independent. So we got to look at the whole picture. We know interdependence is where we want to rest. But we also know it comes down to how are we being led in our relationships to be able to relinquish that independence, or do we have the leadership in front of us? Is a soft space being created for us like we create for men, or like we should be creating for men? And then what is the balance in your relationships for your friendships to exist, for your relationship to exist, for your personal life to exist, for all of it, so no one feels that you have placed this higher importance on only yourself instead of the relationship. So hold all of that true to your heart and know, Miss Independent, is she doing too much? That's left for you to decide. And I'm now signing off. Yours truly, Shanna Montana.